Hey Realtors, it's Austin Smallwood from the SCR Legal Hotline to walk you through a new form to the Forms Library. This is going to be Form 545, which is a backup contract addendum. So currently SCR has a backup clause at the bottom of the first page of Form 391. That is one of our most commonly used additional clauses. So the Forms Committee said, hey, this form is being used, or this clause is being used so much, let's make it its own standalone form. And that's what has been done here. Everything that is not highlighted is what the backup clause currently states. So there were only three or four sentences that were added to this clause, and I'm going to go over those very quickly. If you have any questions on this, certainly reach out to us on the hotline or shoot me an email. I would encourage you as well to watch all the other videos about the forms changes that will take effect on September 12th or attend our webinar on August 31st at noon. So the first thing is we're now also going to have a companion form, that'll be Form 546, in which the seller will simply notify the buyer that they are now the primary contract. Because I got in the call on the hotline, well, how do we notify the buyer that they are now in primary position? So there will be a simple one-page form. It will simply just be sent by the seller, acknowledged by the buyer, that says you are now the primary contract. All contracts that were ahead of you in line are null and void, and there's no lawsuits resulting. The other parts that we've added to the backup clause are things that have always been the case, they just weren't written, and so we want to make sure that everybody's aware of them. The first is when you enter a backup contract, that is in fact a binding contract. That is not something that you can just get out of because you don't want to be a part of the backup contract situation anymore. You are in a binding contract. If you wish to get out, that's going to require the parties to agree or a release. So make that very clear in this first highlighted portion here. The next thing is to make you aware that, hey, you're actually in due diligence once you go into a backup contract situation. So what that can mean is if your buyer tries to get out of the contract before this deadline up here, they could have to pay that termination fee if that's what they've agreed upon with the seller. So just be mindful of that. By the way, speaking of due diligence, I would make sure that your due diligence period expires within however many days your buyer feels like they need for due diligence after the date that's listed here. I would make sure that all the deadlines in your sales contract are later than the deadline that is put in this backup contract addendum to give your buyer plenty of time. So that's the only thing that we changed is we simply are extracting the backup clause from Form 391, making it its own form. There'll be a standalone form with the companion form for notice when the buyer is in primary position, and then additional clarity reminding all parties that even though it's a backup contract, it is still a binding contract by all parties. Again, if you have any questions, give us a call on the hotline or email me, austin@screaltours.org. Thank you.